Do you know what the coolest hobby in the world is? It's collecting sports cards. I mean, the chicks just dig it. All right, I'm going to do something a little different today. I want to show some vintage hockey cards. I have a good bit of hockey cards. I have a large hockey collection, along with large basketball collection, large football collection. And I don't do a good enough job of showing my other cards other than baseball. Just simply because I definitely have more baseball cards, more baseball card knowledge, more baseball player knowledge than I do all the other sports. I have a lot of football knowledge, but not so much for the really old vintage guys. More like 70s and beyond. Now, I don't show a lot of my vintage hockey cards because a lot of times their names are tough to pronounce and I don't want to embarrass myself. So I'm going to call on Canadian cards. I'm going to call on CAC cards. If you hear me say something wrong or mispronounce something, you let me know. But I wanted to take a look at the 1971-72 hockey cards that I have. I'm just going to show the stars, I guess. Really cool set. I love this set. I have some of the nice cards, some nice cards from this set. Kind of indicative of that psychedelic era. You know, when you see these cards, if you're familiar with the 72 Topps baseball, you know, you could see certain, I guess, stylistic similarities. So we will start off with a couple of the rookie cards in this set. Two big ones that I have. Marcel Dionne, who was a fantastic player. And Ken Dryden. Now, Ken Dryden, man, he had a lot of won a lot of trophies and had an amazing career. Didn't play all that long, but won 6 Stanley Cups in the 70s. I don't think he gets enough hobby love. You don't hear a whole lot about him anymore. Heck, he was an attorney. He's a politician in Canada. A very successful guy. But 6 Stanley Cups. He was like the Tom Brady of hockey. Here's an autograph, Bobby Hull. Here's a regular Bobby Hull. Since we can't trust if these autographs are real, if we didn't get them, I like to have a second one just in case. All right, here's Mr. Hockey, Gordie Howe. Phil Esposito. He grew up in the same town as Chico Mackey, Sault Ste. Marie. In Canada, Canadian Cards corrected me. When I read that, I didn't know there were 2 Sault Ste. Maries. I thought there was only one in Michigan, which I've been to. Cool place. This is one of the greatest leaders cards in any sport because it's not too often that all 3 leaders on a card are from the same team. And this is one of my all-time favorite hockey cards right there. And this is a great Phil Esposito here. And here we have Jerry Cheevers. Here's a guy that I think many still regard as potentially the greatest hockey player that ever lived. And certainly a lot more before Wayne Gretzky came along. That's Bobby Orr. Of course, it's hard to compare defensemen with wingers or centers, but everybody's enamored with the scoring. Personally, I like to watch defensive players, and a lot of my favorite players were defensive were defensemen, like Paul Coffey. Just love to watch him play. Sal Apps, who played for my Penguins. Of course, this was before anybody in Pittsburgh actually watched hockey. No one really watched it till Mario Lemieux came along. Gump Worsley. And, man, he has some funny looking cards. He has some great looking cards. But he just looks like a Gump, doesn't he? Good goalie. We have Tim Horton, who finished up his career. I'm not sure if it was the last team he played for, but towards the end of his career, he played for my Penguins. And, of course, he has the coffee shops and puts out hockey cards. But an interesting story on him, he was a good hockey player. But he was, so when he started his coffee shop, he was still playing. And he tells a story about, they weren't paying him what he wanted. And I think he was with Toronto at the time. They said they weren't paying him what he wanted paid, so he's like, look, I'm an entrepreneur now. I have a coffee shop. I'll just retire. And the negotiating ploy worked because they ended up paying him what he wanted. Oh, I have two of these. Alex Del Vecchio. Brad Park, another good player. Got two of those. And Stan, he passed away a few years back. I want to say somewhere around 2018, 19, somewhere in there. Good player. So those are the highlights of my 1971-72 hockey cards. Nice to show some hockey. Show hockey some love. Man, they don't televise enough games in America anymore. I used to be able to catch a lot more games. Although this year, I've been able to catch more than normal. So maybe they'll start to air some more games. I think it would help the popularity so much if they did that. Like they do with basketball. You can always find basketball on TV at night. So that's what I have for you. Thanks for hanging out with me.